Good afternoon, everyone. We'll just allow everyone a few more minutes just to join us, and then we'll get started.
Hi, Tricia. It's Victoria from Melbourne.
Hi, Victoria.
Yeah, hi, Anne. You know, Tricia, I was just thinking about you the other day, and I thought I must email her and just bring her up to speed. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. It's so lovely to see you. It's been far too long.
It has been too long. I hope you're doing well through all this madness.
Yes, we're navigating, right? Navigating together. Well, Victoria,
Yes.
I look forward to catching up at some time. I would love to hear how you're doing.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that.
Oh,
fantastic. All right. Well, welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today at our Glow Ed in the Boardroom webinar on maintaining student engagement. Before we begin, we would really like, on behalf of Glow Ed, would really like to recognize the generous sponsorship of MSM, M Square Media, for your sponsorship of our Glow Ed in the Boardroom and our career webinar series. They do all of the fantastic technical work behind the scenes to make this all happen, and we're so grateful for their help and support. So my name is Anne Harris. I'm the Operations Manager for International Education at the College of New Caledonia, and I'm happy to host today's session. I'm joined by two co-presenters, and I'd like them to introduce themselves, if you could, please.
Oh, thank you. I'm Cindy Banks. I'm Vice President Academic at University of Canada West.
hello, everyone, and I am Tricia Best. I'm the Associate Director for International Student Services at the University of Victoria.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Cindy. Thank you so much, Tricia. So just to go over today's agenda, what we're going to do is we're hoping to have about half an hour of presentation time, so about 10 minutes per institution, just to talk about these specific topics around student engagement and orientation. And then we're going to go into some breakout rooms where, by the magic of Zoom, we each get put into a breakout room and have a conversation amongst ourselves, where we're going to hopefully, we can answer any questions you may have, but we'll also be posing some questions for you as well, just to ask you to share your own experiences and what's worked and what maybe hasn't worked in terms of student engagement and orientation during this very interesting time. So that's what we're hoping to do. The presentation and then the breakout rooms, and then we'll all come back together for a bit of a discussion at the end as well. All right. So I'm going to kick things off, if I may, and just give you a little bit of a snapshot of what we've done in terms of orientation at the College of New Caledonia. So just to put this in a little bit of context, so CNC has, like a lot of other institutions, enjoyed quite enormous growth in terms of our international student enrollment over the last few years. And this has meant also that our international orientation has similarly grown and grown and grown, which is fine, except it can lead to some challenges in terms of capacity. And this is definitely where we found ourselves in the fall of 2019, just in terms of being able to deliver a really good, intentional face-to-face international orientation on campus. We were running into challenges with space. We were running into challenges with just being able to provide as many sessions as we felt were necessary for everybody. And we found that a lot of the time the students were not absorbing the information as much as we would like, just simply because they were in sessions and the information was often going over their heads rather than them being able to really digest and understand the information. So as a result, we already started having some conversations about wanting to put our international orientation online. The challenge we had then was just finding the time and the capacity to actually do that. But then COVID happened in middle of March. And like all of you, we were faced with the challenge of having to consider how we could make our orientation an online orientation that was accessible to everybody. And one of the instructions that I was given through our Vice President of Student Affairs was to really ensure that our orientation was accessible to all new students, not just our international students, but we had to make sure that all of our new students could access orientation. Because again, in the past, they had received program orientations, but not necessarily a comprehensive orientation to the entire campus. We also had to consider making sure that the orientation was asynchronous. This was a decision we made early on, so we could accommodate students studying in various time zones, because at that point we really didn't know how many of our international students would be able to cross the border and start their studies online here in Canada. So from April until August, essentially, we had about 4 months to put this whole program together. First of all, in April, we put together a steering committee, and this was led by myself from International, and then the manager of student services, and then our events coordinator from communications. And the three of us then started working with a larger steering committee made up of representatives from faculty, from deans, from regional principals from our various regional campuses across the central interior, as well as the Students' Union, other support staff from Student Services, International Education, the Aboriginal Resource Centre, and so on. So we had quite a large group. And at the same time started doing research into whether we could either build this in-house or use a third-party vendor to develop the platform for our online orientation. And after lots of discussion, we actually did decide to go with a third-party vendor, just again, simply because we did not have capacity to build this ourselves. So by the time we got to July is where we really started working on putting together our working group. And we put this together using Microsoft Teams. And again, this was my first time really working in a cross-campus platform. What made this really exciting was the fact that we could have input from so many different people from wide geographic area. And the campuses themselves spread out over about 350 kilometers in central BC. And so we were able to have input from a large number of people to work on this team together. And that's where we developed our outline and we started creating content. Now, some of this content was information that right from the college website. Others of it was developed from scratch. And we also wanted to have lots of new videos in the orientation as well. So we called on our staff and our students, our faculty, our president, our vice presidents, all just came, we managed to figure it out to have them come on campus, socially distanced, and our communications team actually did those videos, and they were short little videos. So by the time we got to early August, this is where we were uploading the content into the platform, and then we could start reviewing it and make sure that it was correct. And then we launched on August 24th. So an email was sent out to all students on campus, not just our new students and not just our international students, but every single student registered in a CNC course for September 2020. And everyone was then invited to log on to the platform using their CNC credentials and go through the orientation. We did have some participation prizes just to have a little incentive to get students to complete the orientation. We were able to offer them some tuition credits, so we had a draw prize for those. And in fact, ICBC very kindly sponsored the road safety section of our presentation, so they were also able to provide some prizes as well. So this just gives you a screenshot of what our platform actually looks like. So as I say, the student, when they go onto the website, this is housed on our website, and then the student has to log in using their CNC credentials. This allows us then to track their progress and track their participation. So there's lots of robust reporting behind the scenes that the administrators are then able to access afterwards to see how many students have completed, who's completed, at what point did people stop going through the orientation. And then we could even send nudge emails to those students to remind them to continue on with their orientation. The orientation itself was divided into 10 sections. Each section had a welcome video which introduced the topic that was being discussed. And at the end of each section, there were path forks. So these are sections where a student, if they identify as Aboriginal or if they identify as international, at that point they can click on a link and it will take them to content that is specific to them. So we tried to wrap around as much information as we could to keep the main part of the orientation fairly generic, but then at the same time have lots of content specific to those particular student groups. There were quizzes along the way as well, where students could check their knowledge. And then at the end, there was a final quiz and also a survey for feedback. So some of the key learning points that came out of this, we really understood the need to develop, make sure our content was available for all specific learning groups on campus. When you're planning a cross-campus orientation like this, it's really important to try and make sure that you incorporate as much information as possible. And again, this was helped by the fact that we had our cross-campus representation. And I have to say, I mean, obviously this is not an ideal time to be doing any kind of session like this. You know, obviously we would love to be face-to-face as much as we could. But given the circumstances, I really appreciate the opportunity to work in this virtual environment to be able to deliver this content, develop this content, and then deliver it to everybody. We also found that videos, through the feedback that we got from the students, they really appreciated the videos, and they were good quality videos, even though we had to put them together quickly. It was really important to get the students to test and give us feedback before the launch. This kind of ironed out some of the wrinkles that we found, and also gave us information on exactly how long it was taking students to get through the orientation. The incentives obviously helped because we saw a really good uptick, not just again from our new students, but from our returning students as well. Many of whom that gave us feedback to say, well, that was interesting. There was things there that I didn't even know were available at CNC, and I'm going to really use those now. And so that's where the evaluation is coming in, and we're doing actually more surveys now with our faculty and staff and getting their feedback, and we'll be taking a look at all of that data and feedback in the next couple of weeks. And then all of that is being fed into the governance documents that we're creating. Orientation at CNC in September 2020 was definitely probably not as planned as we would have liked it to have been. We now need to make this a living document that we can continue to refine and continue to improve as we deliver it in subsequent semesters. So the governance documents are really going to help us frame what we're doing and make decisions about who owns the orientation so that we can continue to move this forward. So in a nutshell, I would say from our perspective, I think the fact that we now have this robust platform has been super helpful. The fact that the students can now refer back to it at any point, I think, has really answered that need to have content that they can access at any time. And we are going to continue now to monitor the students as they progress through their studies to see if there has been any correlation in terms of the information that they've been provided, to see how that helps them in their student success. So that's what I have. I'm happy now to turn the floor over to Cindy, and she is going to give us an overview of what's been happening at University Canada West.
Well, thank you, Anne. Where am I here? Okay. Right. Right. Okay, well, thank you. So our journey over the last few months has been really very, very busy and full of challenges and interesting lessons. And I want to tell you a little bit about that journey first. So on March 3rd, we were informed that we had our first case of COVID. A father had come to visit his son, stay with him a little while, and then go to his graduation ceremony, which of course didn't happen. And I think we were the first university in the Lower Mainland to have an actual case. So within 16 hours, we decided to shut the university down for a full sanitization of the building. After that long weekend, then we went back to classes, and we moved, we went back to face-to-face classes, but we gave students the option, if they didn't feel comfortable coming to class, that they could join virtually, or the faculty were encouraged to record their sessions and upload them into Moodle. The whole goal was to help our students and our faculty finish their semester successfully. We were right at the end of the semester. We encouraged faculty to provide alternative assignments for the exam period. Many opted for that. Some decided not to, and some were given no choice because of accreditation purposes. So we provided a proctoring service for those exams, and that created some challenges, which we won't go into today, but there were challenges there. In the spring term, we delayed our start date by 2 weeks. And we designed the courses, so we created online-only courses for our overseas students in case they couldn't come to Canada at a later date. We were very idealistic and hopeful that the rest of the university we planned 2 weeks online, and then we were going to go back to campus. Of course, that didn't happen. And we began, when we asked our degree faculty to move their materials online, record their sessions, and do their best to move their classes online. With the University Access Program, of course, all of those students were overseas, and we have accreditation requirements, and so we decided to look at a new model for UAP, kind of as a testing ground. We bought a new platform, Yoragora, and faculty redesigned their courses so that they would have Yoragora online material, preparation material, and then as was required by Languages Canada, they would have face-to-face synchronous sessions. Where the students would come 3 times a week and take that pre-learning and apply it. We had 2 takeaways from the spring semester. First of all, our overseas students who were given online-only courses wrote to us hundreds and hundreds of emails to the academic department, begging us to put them into a synchronous session. They said they didn't sign up for online learning, that they really wanted to have contact with faculty and the other students. The second lesson was that, and we asked our faculty to step up, and they did. It was quite impressive, and they incorporated some synchronous sessions in the middle of the semester. The UAP model was also a huge success, because what we found out was that the faculty were saying their students were coming prepared, more prepared than ever, to their classes. And the reason was the fact that the students had 24/7 access to the pre-learning material, and they were using it. They were looking at it again, and we have the data to show how much extra time that they were spending on the material, and it worked very well. And then in the summer session, we decided to take some of these lessons, and we created, and we worked on creating with the degree faculty a blended model of learning, but we also incorporated a new student orientation online. Previously, we'd had a 1-day, mainly social event approach to orientation, and now we have a week-long orientation that looks at all of the different aspects, and I'll look at that later. Also introduced some Learning for Success mandatory workshops to get at the skill development for all new students, and I'll talk about that later as well. For this fall term, and we're starting now, we're in orientation week this week. Next week is the start of classes. We've incorporated peer leaders, and we've assigned peer leaders to all students, all new students. We've hired some international student advisors with specific language groups of some of our the larger language groups to help support our students in their transition and to do outreach and support them throughout that transition. In terms of the blended online teaching model, we introduced the Center for Teaching Excellence, and we provided training, numerous training, 19 sessions of blended online learning training sessions for faculty to help them redesign their classes so that it wasn't just putting their courses online as they were face-to-face, but that they were actually designing them with a pre-learning material in Moodle, and then creating interactive, engaging classes in the online forum in the synchronous sessions. And we had learned very importantly that students really wanted that instructor presence, and they wanted the presence of the other students. We also upgraded our technology. We now have the latest version of Moodle. We incorporated MS Teams, so our classes are being conducted in Teams. So is our Learning for Success workshops. We incorporated H5P tools for faculty so that they could create these engaging interactive courses. Well, the one overall overarching message to us was that we had to look at our students from the whole student perspective and not just the academic side. And so we decided to look at it from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so starting off from the physical and shelter, of course, we have students who are in country have to self-isolate at times, or we have students coming into the country and we're helping them with accommodation, we're helping them with their self-isolation plan, and Student Affairs is reaching out to them every couple of days to check on them, see if they're okay, offering events online, and just making sure they're getting through that period effectively and in good health. The second level is safety and security. As I mentioned earlier, we've hired international student advisors. We have over 60 countries represented at our university, but we have 4 major student groups, and so we're implementing international student advisors who can help those students in their own language. We've also, in terms of the safety security level, we've created a lot more employment for students. So we've hired 90 peer leaders for the fall semester alone. We're going back, well, I shouldn't say back, we're actually moving into our brand new Vancouver House campus this week, in fact, and we've hired a number of student health ambassadors to help us protect students and make sure they follow the protocol, and faculty as well, and protect everyone's health in that process. The belonging needs is very important, as we discovered in class, but also outside of class. The peer-to-peer program I've mentioned, and then also the new student orientation. We spend a lot of time in the orientation connecting students to administration, to the president, to the chairs, to other faculty, to professional staff that are going to help them, and to each other, and to Student Affairs, of course, as well. And so we spend a lot of time doing that, but we also offer them information sessions and time for them to ask questions and fun events as well. And really establishing that presence. And then they also have a Moodle shell with the new student orientation, and all the sessions are recorded and all the information is kept in there for them. The 4th level is competency, the STEAM level. And so we decided to focus on competencies. We have 4 weeks of academic skill and soft skill programming. The first week, step back and look at the situation from a student who's entering a new country and doesn't really understand the educational system. What are the expectations, that kind of thing. So the first thing we do is we teach them to take notes. We teach them how to read a syllabus, what professors expect when they go to the classroom, introduce them to the Moodle and MyUCW so they know how to navigate that, get them set up with developing a calendar and a plan and set of goals for the semester. The second week is about academic integrity and looking at it from the point of view of an educational point of view, and also teaching them the why. Why is academic integrity important, and what is their role, and what is the benefit to them in their future career, and also research skills. The third week is about writing skills. And so we take them through the whole process of how to research, plan, and write all the different parts of a paper or project, put it all together, review it, revise it, and then submit it through, turn it in, and all of those steps. And then the final week is about making the most of their online experience. And so they've had quite a bit of experience by now, week 4 with Moodle. And so now they're ready to ask questions. We bring IT in, they show them some tricks, and then they answer all of their questions. It's quite an engaged session. And then we have our director of Center for Teaching Excellence talk to them about developing a semester plan and how to develop strategies for effectively learning online and time management, exam writing skills and study skills. And once they finish each of these 4 weeks, they receive a badge and then they receive a certificate for that. And we're hoping that this will help prepare them better for their degree courses. And then the 4th level I've already spoken about. We're really focused on learner-centered pedagogies and engaging in interactive courses. And so that's how we approached our support for students, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So going online has made us really question the things that we've done in the past, and it's provoked a lot of change. I'm really very much in awe and amazed at how willing faculty and staff have been stepping up and rethinking all of their programming and their courses and how they offer them, and making all these changes often on the fly. We also believe that these have been good changes. We're very much aware that the blended learning's been around for a long time, but it's being touted again as best practice and being here for the long run. So we feel we're preparing for the future as well. We also believe we're setting up our students through the new student orientation and the Learning for Success workshops, hiring a learning strategist, focusing on supporting faculty to support our students in a learner-centered approach. We feel that we're helping students more effectively in the long run as well. So as part of our planning, we have asked our students, what was the transition like for them at the end of the spring semester, or each semester we have an evaluation process, but we ask questions. How was the transition for you? What were the challenges? What worked? And we were very pleasantly pleased and surprised that they came back and said that they were just amazed about the support that they received from faculty, that they felt supported from a technological point of view, and they felt that University of Canada West was there for them in terms of the supports that they were offering. We also decided to ask our students what they thought and how that experience was for them. And so we made a video of this, and I'm going to end by showing you in their own words what that experience was like for them. So just 1 second, and I'll put it up.
More will come.
Before I would travel back to Hong Kong and come back to Vancouver within, you say, 3 days. But now I have to stay there for 14 days I'm quarantined, and I come back here, I have to stay here for 14 days. But because of the online course, actually it allows me more flexible times to go there and come back.
Sometimes it's like making these bonds, and now with these social distancing norms and rules, it's kind of difficult to establish that links between people.
When COVID had happened and they were without me, and I was just studying here, and my wife, my 2 kids, they were assisting themselves. I used to literally cry sometimes because I could not support them emotionally. So my wife used to console me, okay, you need to be strong and you need to control your emotions. So in a way, it has made me more emotionally strong post-COVID. So that's truly appreciate your good work, your abilities, your knowledge, and the smallest help you provide any passerby or any senior. So nice for me because in India, okay, you give thank you once and that's it.
changed a lot, especially the UCW. I have to take them online courses, and my two children also took online courses. So it's a very big change, and we have some social distancing. We don't have a lot of activities right now. We have to wear a mask and do
It didn't work. So with that, I'll hand it over to Tricia.
Hello. Thank you, Cindy. And I will move into talking a little bit about the UVic context and our self-isolation program. And I'll just get my slides ready here. Okay, can you see my slides? Okay, great. So I just wanted to describe a little bit about the building and the development of the self-isolation program at the University of Victoria. And just to give you a bit of context about our institution, we are a medium-sized public university with just over 22,000 students who join us each year. And we have approximately 17% of our student population is international, so just over 3,500 international students from year to year, and representing about just under 100 countries. And so I just put down there the top 10 countries of citizenship to give you a sense of our student population, and probably very similar to some of you in the audience in your institutions. So in July of 2020, so July of this year, as some of you would be aware, the federal government, provincial governments, and provincial and territorial public health authorities mandated that designated learning institutions would have to submit plans for approval, outlining how the DLIs were equipped to and ready to welcome and support the ongoing and the safe arrival, entry, and quarantine of international students while safeguarding Canadians' health and safety. So in response to this requirement, UVic brought together campus stakeholders to create an overall safety plan for international students, and International Student Services created a self-isolation program that would support international students while meeting governmental requirements. So we recognize that the engagement of international students during this particularly challenging and kind of bizarre time for them would be very important, that it would be essential for our ongoing relationship with the students, for their relationship and connection to UVic, and also for their continued success in their programs. So helping students to feel supported and connected while carrying out their quarantine was integral to the building of this program. We wanted to make sure that students, even though this was a kind of a strange way to start their term, that they still had a good start to their term. So in building the program, like some of you, we recognized that we needed more information about where the students would be studying. So we needed to know how many students were currently in Canada who hadn't left, how many students would be planning to travel to Canada, and how many students were planning to study outside of Canada. So to this end, we built out 2 online forms and set that up as part of our database, so part of our client records management database through International Student Services, so that we could send out emails we sent out emails to about just over 3,500 students and get them to engage in the process online. In addition to building up that part of the program, we also created a working group that was represented units across campus to make sure that we were kind of considering all the things that we needed to consider in supporting students in this way. So that included our Office of the Registrar, Office of Global Engagement, our colleagues from our counseling services, health services, along with other colleagues in other academic units on campus. And so our program, and I'll just show you what what the program included. So we built out a robust website that would have online travel guidance, immigration and settlement information for students. We negotiated with our hotel locations some suggestions for students so that we have a list of hotels that were compliant with the COVID compliance, as well as looking at special rates for UVic. We created guidelines for students being able to get the necessities that they would be needing, so groceries and so on. And then we also built in a daily online check-in form for the students so that would help them with their compliance in the program, as well as a way for them to signal if they needed more help or support. So the focus was really on trying to support students as best we could. In addition to that, we had online information sessions, which I'll say a little bit more about, virtual social events, as well as mental health and wellness support information. So again, understandably, wanting to make sure that students had a lot of access to supports to help them through this time. So in addition, an International Student Services team member monitors all of the online forms that we receive and reaches out to students. So reaches out to students before they actually travel to Canada, as soon as they start their self-isolation process, midpoint in their self-isolation, and then the students transition out of the self-isolation to make sure that they have what they need. So lots of opportunities for contact there. In addition, students have the opportunity to reach out to staff as well. So either through the online forum platform or through we have online check-in sessions, so drop-in sessions, or through the normal ways of communicating with International Student Services. So whether that would be through email, phone, or our online appointments. We also anticipated that the majority of students would be coming to Canada in preparation for their classes in September. So we built out a 14-day online program that would have activities for each day to help students stay engaged and connected. Because at this point, these would be students who would be coming into Canada before they would actually be starting their classes, so not a lot to do in self-isolation. So the 2-week program included the first week really focusing on getting acquainted with Victoria or reacquainted with Victoria for those students who would be returning, and as well as starting to think about their online programming and opportunities for students to connect with one another. So some social events and online games and such to help students stay connected. This kind of brought them into the second week of the programming, which actually was our international student welcome. So that would be open to all international students who would be starting up at UVic. And these programs, of course, included a program launch. And so our launch included a welcome from our cherished elders on campus, as well as our AVP Student Affairs, our ISS team, and some fun events like around Canadian trivia and things like that with our student recruiters. But it also included information sessions on immigration and settlement. So both for students studying inside of Canada, students studying outside of Canada, as well as for our exchange students who were studying online with us. So those kind of programs then led into the week of programming that was about trying to make sure that students felt ready and prepared and successful. So things such as how to study online, getting them acquainted with the platforms that they would be using in their courses, health and wellness information sessions, a session from our campus security, a session from law enforcement just talking about awareness around virtual scams and such, and then some fun events as well, like things like music trivia and things like that. We did a couple of virtual hikes and yoga sessions and such. So lots of different ways to kind of try to be as holistic as possible in having programming for the students. Now, students who were arriving after classes begun could also access the online programs through recordings because our programs were both synchronous and asynchronous. And also, of course, go into our global community programs that help students build community and stay connected. So lots of ways for students to be able to connect throughout the process. So while initially in August, we had about 15 to 20 students who joined us each week, into September, as classes begun, it started to slow down. So now we're seeing about 5 to 10 students join us from week to week. And now what we're trying to do is get ready and geared up for potentially a second wave of students coming. So whether that be with the amendment of the travel restrictions in next week, October 20th, or gearing up for what will happen in January for second term, anticipating that more international students will be able to enter into Canada to join us at UVic. So our focus really is about helping students stay connected, helping them feel supported in this process and engaged, and also really listening to what their needs are throughout the process to make sure it's, as I said, as normal as possible, given this unusual circumstance. So I'm going to end there so that we have time for questions and discussion, and I'm looking forward to getting an opportunity to speak with all of you. So I'll just go to the next slide, which just gives you our contact information. And I think we're going to move into some breakout rooms so that we can ask questions and have more discussion. So thank you very much for your attention, and we're going to move on to the next part of our session.
Thank you so much, Tricia. And thank you, Cindy, for sharing your information. So yeah, we have probably about, I'm going to guess maybe around 15 minutes if we can go into our breakout rooms now. And then we'll come on back into the main room just for a quick wrap up at the end. So hopefully we can get into our breakout rooms. And okay, and off we go. So we just click on the little buttons and we'll see you in there. Thank you. Okay. We're back, but nobody else. We can probably just carry on chatting. Oh, no, here come the others. Oh, that's great. That's great. All right. Is everyone back? Are we still missing a few? I can't remember who else was all here now. I think we might.
Trisha's group is not here
Trisha's
yet.
group. That's right. Yeah, Trisha's group is still chatting. We'll just give them a minute or so. Hopefully that was a helpful discussion in your small breakout sessions. You have a chance to share some more ideas and ask some questions. And that's great. Okay. Oh, and some feedback. Thank you, Jackie. That's very kind. Thanks for joining us. And here come the rest of the group. Lovely. Okay. Well, it looks like everyone's back. Fantastic. Tricia or Cindy, did you have any last thoughts or wrap up that you'd like to share with the bigger group from your discussions?
Oh, sure. Well, I just really appreciated our discussion. So thank you to the group that I was with. And we were talking about this notion around how to bring domestic and international students together, and whether through any of these programs that we were discussing, there would be an avenue to be able to do that on a more regular basis, and how the advent of COVID has kind of transitioned us in ways that we can kind of keep that some of that going is really important. So that was one of the takeaways from our group for sure.
Fantastic, thank you. How about for you, Cindy?
I think that, one of the things that strikes me from the conversations in the breakout room, but also just generally, is that, COVID has been a challenge for everybody, but it's also been an opportunity for us to think about how we support students and, really rethinking our programs, and because we have to try harder. I think it's actually having a positive impact on our university programming, and students are benefiting from that. I think as we all are. I think faculty are benefiting too, because they're upgrading their skills, and that helps them as well. So
absolutely, for sure. Yeah, and I mean, and look at us all here today. Were it not for us all being put into these virtual kind of sessions, then I probably wouldn't be having these conversations at such a depth with such a rich and an informative group of people. So I really value that for sure. And certainly in our small breakout session, we were talking about ways to connect with students. We talked about how we can use video and other means of kind of visual communication with our students to make things very authentic and genuine, about the need to have mentorship and the peer support programs that I know we discussed in our larger sessions as well, and how important it is then to help all of our students feel connected. So yeah, a very valuable discussion. Well, it is just past 2 o'clock. I know some of you may have other meetings you got to jump to. I know I do. I'm getting Zoom fatigue here today, but that's quite okay.
And can I just give a plug for the next session?
Oh yes, please do.
And our next session is on November 2nd, and we have 4 colleagues from 4 institutions, one in Ireland, one in Denmark, one in Austria, one in Switzerland. And they're all practitioner based. And I've asked them to talk about what's going on in their country and what the heck they're trying to do about it. And they are we particularly chose them because they are organizations that have almost exclusive partnerships with Canadians. So we should have a really interesting discussion. So that's on the 2nd of November. So sign up, guys.
Lovely. And thank you for organizing that, Catherine. I really look forward to that session. So once again, a huge thank you to all of you for coming today and sharing your ideas and being such a wonderful group to work with. I have to say a big thank you to my wonderful co-presenters, Tricia and Cindy. You've worked so hard to put your presentations together. It's been fantastic to work with you. Thank you to Catherine, our chair of our PD committee, for having the idea in the first place. And thank you to M Square Media for all of your support, and particularly the tech support in the background to make all of this happen. I see our chair of GLOED is here. Hi, Cindy McLeod, lovely to see you.
Hi.
And
Hi,
thank you so much.
It's great.
And
it's great.
It was great. I really enjoyed chatting with you all. So I'm going to wrap this up now, and I will see you all on the Zooms or hopefully face-to-face in real life very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Bye now.
Josie, hi. Bye-bye.